right, so good afternoon. Welcome to another one of our CQI Deming Special Interest Group interview series, Amplify. So today we are here to discuss the issue of developing a scientific and systematic mind to understand, implement, and improve your organization with a Deming Lens. Today, I'm pleased to have Mr. Jesus Gilberto Concepcion with us and to share his insights on the Deming system of profound knowledge. So we look forward to this engagement and hope that all of those listening would enjoy. So Jesus, welcome to CQI Deming Special Interest Group interview series, Amplify, where we discuss, the thoughts and insights, and we seek to unpack the insights of Dr. W. Edward Deming. So thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Chris, and good afternoon. And good afternoon to all the people that is hearing us today. Hope they enjoy what we have to say.
Okay, Jesus. So before we begin, I would like for you to, get this opportunity to share a little bit about yourself, share a little bit about your background and your expertise in applying, the Deming lens and Deming principles.
Okay. Everything started in 1968 when I was taking my physical chemistry class. And the first time I saw what was the mean value and the standard deviation. And in my mind, I said to me, I think the success of everything will be if we can decreasing the standard deviation. There was no quality, nothing about. And I think this is the starting point in my quality life. And I finished a bachelor degree in University of Puerto Rico in chemistry. And then I went to complete the PhD program in physical organic chemistry. And from that, I moved to Syracuse University to do a postdoc where I really learned quantum mechanics. From that, 1976, I decided that was enough, that all I have learned, I have to return home. And so I returned to the Dominican Republic. And it was the starting on I worked for the government in a technical institute. I was the director of the analytical services. And from that, I moved to the pharmaceutical, and the only pharmaceutical international that we had in the Dominican Republic. It was called Sterling Products. It doesn't exist anymore. But from that, I learned something. The important thing in a business is the client. And I say, oh, look, that's what my father was a great physician, has touched us, because he was a orthopedic surgeon, and every time was a accident, somebody break a bone or whatever it is. No, doesn't matter where my father was, he has to go to attend the client. Let's put it this way. And I was in contact with the starting of the Six Sigma movement. From that, the company wanted to know what process was in the range of Six Sigma process. So I wrote back my report and said, look, in the pharmaceutical, this process can be reach the Six Sigma. And we are doing that Six Sigma level, other not. And that was it. Then later on, some vice president came. They told I never go to a meeting because usually we're marketing meetings, not technical meetings. But they say they want me there. I went there. I said, and now the meeting is starting. Today we are worldwide vice president and say, I am here for two things, is to put in retirement the general manager of the Dominican Republic, and the new general manager is this person. And the second one is the guy that I have to sit next to him because the companies send worldwide a project to see how many process can be Six Sigma process. And of 60 plants, only 2 plants answer. The one in Australia and the one in the Dominican Republic. And I think that was the starting point of everything. From that, the company, they sell the company. So I start my consultant. I said my wife, I'm going to start my consultant business. So I started my consultant business, and knowing everything, I say, how can I implement it? Process improvement at level of Six Sigma or whatever it is, process improvement, whatever it is. I found that it was not easy, but sometimes I have a lot of success. Sometimes I fail. I decided to study why I was having this success. And say, is that I am so good? And what I found is that whatever I has a success, there were persons with some type of some type of thinking that I'm going to call it later scientific thinking. So I decided to develop a system that I can understand the brain. Took me a few years. I developed all that now I have a patent on that is called how can I see what is the type of thinking of a person. Following Deming principles, following scientific thinking, I found that only 2 to 3%, that is what is already said in the literature, 3% of the people have that type of thinking. I go to any place, it can be a industry, it can be a school, it can be a sports, that is nice in sports. And what I said is, they told me to come here to help this organization. But I don't know much about this organization. You are guys, the person who knows. And then I make that story. I found the person that have what I call the Deming thinking. And I say, look, those persons, I say, look, I came here to help the organization. Well, you are the person who have the right way of thinking. Give me the project that you think will be interesting. And from that, when I found those persons, I have had success. If I don't find it, sorry for me. It's not easy. And sometimes I say, I better not. Now I say, I better not work, or let me work first in the brain of the people, and then we talk about process, because this is and we will talk later on more profound with Deming, that if I got that people, I have industry from very small that now are number one in my country. Suppose when you walk around that organization, that people doesn't know me sometimes, and they say, who's that guy? They say, this is the God behind the organization. I feel nice when they say that. When I talk to people, I say, look, I'm going to teach you something about what the way Deming did to Japanese. And I think that describes what I'm doing. I already have 2 books. For now that we're talking about Deming, my second book is a booklet. I have a co-author, and that co-author, Marilyn Monda, is, you won't believe, was the last assistant of Dr. Deming. I am very close to the Deming family, or to the Deming people that work close to him. All right, and that's it.
A story, what a journey, what a
That's my
journey,
life,
what a what a journey. I mean, from Six Sigma, going through the experimentation in quality and improvement methods, and then all the way to Deming. I mean, that is, like, it is a journey that is very similar to a lot of those who are in, especially Deming space. Because, we were discussing before the interview, most quality professionals who are into Deming are more the mature persons who, have gone through this sort of experimentation, who recognize that instant pudding doesn't exist, who recognize that you have to go through this process of experimentation, who have to understand people's side of quality and all of these type of things. And appreciate the value that people actually bring. So one of the questions that I definitely had, I know that your book you have books focusing on developing the scientific mindsets. So
And you can, I'm going to give you all the details because you can
if
get
you
it.
could
Yeah, you
elaborate
can get
some
it
more.
free. You can download the book.
Oh, I can okay, that would be awesome. But could you
That would be
elaborate
defined.
on
That would be in at the end.
could you elaborate, on what it actually means to develop this scientific mindset? How can our audience, begin to develop this mindset, as a quality professional, as a leader of business, as a leader in organizations? What's this process like in developing this mindset?
Okay.
Why is this mindset so important?
If you go to the 4 principles of Deming, they say appreciation of the system, knowledge of variation, okay, theory of knowledge and psychology. Everything goes to one in a person. Let's go now to a person, to one word that we call well-being. The first thing is that you have to have a well-being, and it goes to the brain, a well-being brain. And it goes to knowledge, fitness, thinking, and that book tell you more or less things that you have to do to improve your well-being. And I said, look, if you can do that, then you can start thinking about Deming. Before that, forget. If you go to the quality professionals, many people doesn't like Deming. They think that he is too profound. I say, look, the easiest, the simple way is thinking the way Deming talk. And it says psychology, no variation. Okay? Psychology. Understand yourself and then understand your people. It's like what I do when I do a conference. Right now, I say, I really sorry about people who are giving conference because you are doing a conference to a person that you don't know how they think. And what I do is very fast, I do a survey trying to find the thinking pattern of all the people that are there. And when I develop that in a few minutes, they say, look, this is the pattern. I'm going to show you now the pattern of success. In my conference, what I'm going to do is I would like, or I'm going to try to make you to move a little bit to the success side. If I can do that, my conference was you can say that it's a good conference. If I cannot do that, hey, sorry. And I'm sorry for me. And sometimes, let me tell you, I have done that in work conference in ASQ. And once they told me after the conference, half the person in my evaluation say that was marvelous, marvelous, all that. And the other half said, I didn't like it. And I know, but I cannot tell you that those people that doesn't have the correct way of thinking, they didn't like it because I was pushing that they understand they have to move to the correct way of thinking to make Deming's or quality improvement work. That's it. That's what Deming, more or less. I don't know if you know the story of Deming in Japan. Deming went to Japan because MacArthur took Deming to Japan to make the census. And then he started doing classes, teaching courses of statistics. Ishikawa's son was there, and he died a few years ago. I met him, and he told Deming, who are you talking to those people? It won't work. I'm going to talk to my father so you can do this conference to the owners of the industries. So they have about not too many, less than 20 people. They were in the room, and Deming says, all these principles, but I said, look, if you can reduce, or you can, that way, if you can reduce the variation, that is improve the process capability and pass over capability of 2, that is 6 sigma, you are going to conquer the world. And what's the starting point? And that is, that the Deming was a king in Japan. And that was in the early, or in the 60s, something like that. And, 30 years later, where the United States that found that Deming and that the quality award in Japan has the name of Edward Deming. First, you have to conquer the big boss, the manager, the leaders, and they go to the fourth force. And this is a process. And if you can do that, I tell you, things improve dramatically. I have found that here in my country. What I tell you, I have success, but I have failures. Right now, my last research that is going to be presented next Monday, this is unpublished results. We are telling the people what is, especially young people, what is the right music to hear in order to balance your brain. Because the music that they are hearing right now, reggaeton, all that, is destroying the brain of the people. That is something that we're going to present next Monday. We have techniques to evaluate that. When I say, look, the first thing is knowing your brain. And this is Dr. Deming technique, psychology.
So I definitely know that a lot of your work now focuses, moving away from even variation into this whole question of brain sciences and psychology, neurology, those type of things and efforts. But as quality professionals, and we look to implement quality improvements, so we say, oh, there's a need now to improve the culture of our organizations. We may be met with resistance, we may be met with different insights, different perspectives on what improvement actually means or what it is not. So as a quality professional, how do you propose, us navigating or developing this sort of scientific understanding to help us to navigate these different perspectives and resistance and all of these issues that come to bear as we implement quality management systems and so on?
I was, let me tell you, Chris, though I have heard about 3 years ago in a person in the World Quality Congress that says, if you improve 1% every day, at the end of the year, that will be coming a 40% increase. And let me tell you, that is in your brain. It won't be easy, That is the important. That is the important part, and that is what I emphasize. Deming, because the old gurus, I am not against them, and I met all of them: Duran, Feigenbaum, Crosby, Zero the Faith, Duran with the three way of improving the process. But 3-way improving the process is not scientific. What is scientific is 4-way improving the process. Plan, do, check, act. In this process improvement, they told us, plan, do, check, act. only one way. I say you will understand the process if you can understand backwards. Instead for plan, do, check, act, you go like act, check, do, plan. Because you have to be prepared for that. Because suppose that you are in a line in an industry and something happen in the line that break the system. What are you going to do? Are you going to read the methodology? Are you going to check? You have to act instantly. And the only way is if you can learn the process forward and backwards. And this is pure chemical equilibrium. I say, look at brain, you have to understand those two ways and put that to work. It's like, it came to my mind. It's like jumping the rope. Chris, can you jump the rope?
Yes, I can.
Look,
Yes, I can.
You can. Okay. Can you jump the rope backwards? Now you understand, huh? You saw the process, jumping the ropes, and they're going to tell you the way I learned. But it's also jumping backwards, because in that way you are sending the signal to the brain. Remember, we're talking about psychology. We're talking about Deming. I learned when I was 60 years old to jump the rope. I was training with the national boxing team, and I saw them jumping the ropes. I said, I have to do it that way. I say, look, whenever I want to do something different, I say, you are a Deming follower. What I have to do is jump in one foot. So I start jumping the rope in one foot, then change to the other foot. And then instantly I was jumping the rope like a boxer. Then I said, look, backwards. For me, that was easy. Then I can jump the rope backwards. Now, when I did that, next step was to make an encephalogram of my brain when I was jumping the ropes. And I found that the most important part in the process was interest. Interest is what make you more creative. And that interest, whenever you have to develop that interest. You have to be interested in improving the process.
So again, so from perspective wise, so we're looking at the fact that one, improving the process is not a linear process, number one. So it's not like step by step. So we have to employ the theory of learning or the theory of knowledge in applying and understanding the plan, do, check, act. But we not only recognize it was plan, do, study, act, I should say, sorry. But we should also look at it backwards in terms of act, study,
yeah.
implement, and plan. So basically we have to look at it going both ways. So I guess that's why it's always circular when it's represented. But when we look at it from so it's a system. So in the theory of knowledge, is a system within a wider system of improvement and so on. Right. So as we build all this sort of scientific understanding and recognizing that improvement is not linear or doesn't necessarily go in one direction. So experimentation and learning has to go in both sort of directions, from the act backward, from planning forward. How do we engage with others in this process?
Are you reading my mind? Chris, are you reading my mind? Because that is not linear. And it's a 4-step process, okay? And I found that 4-step process is, then I'm going to go a little bit to quantum mechanics here. I found that when you have a 4-step, It's a like molecule with 4 atoms, 4 carbon atoms. There is not a same percent for each place. And the correct way is then is that the most important two are the two end and beginning. Plan, do, check, act. Plan, act is each has a 30% weight, and do, check has only
I,
20%.
I'm
That
trying to
would be
study. I'm trying to
60%
study.
and the other
Study.
40%.
I'm
And
trying to
that
study.
was, oh, hear that. When I said that was the Nobel Prize hearing me. Was when he says he gave me the blessing, because I said, look, people doesn't understand that everything is not linear. That comes, it's for me it's very easy to understand. But the people that is hearing me, I say, look, it goes to 30, 20, 20, 30. From that, I developed the other concept, that is the dynamic intelligence, because there are two intelligence that all people is saying what is important is the intellectual intelligence or emotional intelligence. And I say, no, both are important, but it's the weight of each. And from that, in early 2000, I wrote a paper called, from all my research, my editor proposed another title. I wanted to be named Dynamic Intelligence. But sometimes you have to be creative so that people like to read that. I said the title was A Trip to the Deep Sea of the Mind. And dynamic intelligence is a combination of 4 intelligence: analytical, practical, social, and creative. It's like in each arm is the aptitude with T and the aptitude with P. It's a combination. And you won't believe what I found is those coefficients were 30% analytical, 20% practical, 20% social, and 30% creative. If you put that, those are the same coefficients that works in molecules. So now we're going to Deming again. Psychology, deep thinking. What is more important? No, all are important. It's the way they mix, because that goes from one side of the brain to the other side of the brain. And I have a lot of numbers, a lot of electroencephalography done, doing different things, hearing music, doing sports, just working, and found that people that has that combination, success, a lot of success. I have people that I took it very young. They were major league players. I don't know if you know about the volleyball feminine team of the Dominican Republic, top 10. And they have been top 10 in the last 20 years. And doesn't matter the age, they are in between the 10 best of the world. Those ladies use my technique to get the people. The first team, I found those that and I say like this: analytical, practical, social, and creative. Like say 30%, 20%, 20%, 30%. Those ladies, and I said they were in the 18 years old, and they were going to Utah to a world tournament. And the manager told me, he knew about me, told me, can you give me a report on that? I'm leaving in 2 days. I went, and one night I did all that. And next day I said, look, those are the 6 best players. I haven't seen them. Go out with those 6 players. They came with the title. And those ladies are now millionaires because they are of the best in the world. And the same thing happened in organization. I go to an industry and I say, supervisors, a level of supervisors, I say, let's do this analysis, and found, I don't say what I'm doing. And when I do I give all the values, and I found the people that have this way of thinking, what I call the combination of the dynamic intelligence. I tell, give me the project that we have to improve. About 20 years, I went to organization and I did that. You won't believe. This is an industry, it's in the painting industry. It was the lowest painting industry. Today is the biggest one, and the biggest one have bought the second and the third one. And those kids that were supervisors today are the big boss. Talking all about that, Chris, your mind, Opa is like my mind. I'm talking Deming. I'm talking about psychology. I'm talking about system thinking, improving the process. And then when you have that, you can see the process improvement or linear or exponential. There is a lot of things. It depends. Because my friends, no two process, okay, are similar. Doesn't matter, like if you have 2 industries of the same kind, they are different. Because the people is different. If the people is different, you have to act in a different way. You as a consultant or you as the general manager have to understand that. And when they tell me, what are you going to do? I always say, I don't know. I don't know. I say, look, first I have to know how is the people in order to start the process improvement program. Chris, in the quality field, do we talk to that in the university or in high school or to children's? Start knowing yourself, doing exercises that can improve, because now it's doing exercises that improve. It's like thinking like if you're boxing, doesn't matter. If you are a painter, if you are a writer, if you are a simple employee, a supervisor, a manager, we can spend a whole night talking about. This is something that I want to leave to all the audience. First thing, know yourself in order to know the other. Don't try to know the other if you don't know yourself. And that is Deming. We usually say, the importance of the management, the importance of the leadership. Leadership are stronger thinkers than managers. But managers can be more flexible. And you have to have both leaders and managers. And sometimes the leader, he doesn't have to be in a management position.
That is so.
That's
so true.
That's Deming. So if you understand Deming, that is what Deming says. You need to improve, but you need to know your people. And you have to know yourself. Like, you know, the 14 point of Deming? That's too much. I don't use that.
Yes.
I don't use it because more or less it's the same thing. You can put it in that four-way, but this is not the time to do that. He's talking about process. He's talking about psychology. He's talking about understand where you want to go. Also, you have to have a vision. Deming is against that, but I am not against that. You have to have a vision. Where do you want to go? Where you see in few years? Can you see yourself far away? Don't tell me that you want to be a president, because a vision is something that you can reach, not something that is impossible. And as a quality person, you have to have a purpose, and that is Deming. You have to have a purpose, but that purpose have to be guided by a dynamic intelligence. Once in the industry was a person, and the vice president of production, son of the owner, told me that then that kid, but for me as a kid, I know it when she was very young, and he says I am his father, told me, look, we have a problem with this person. He has 10 years working, and he did something. I say, okay, what he did, I'm not going to. My first thing is we have to throw it away. Or something tell me, hey, bring that person to you. I said, bring it to me. And I said, please fill this questionnaire. That is my dynamic model intelligence. He filled it, but that I was with my computer. When I did the evaluation, I told the vice president, look, backwards. We cannot leave that. This is the best brain that we have in this pharmaceutical industry. Was a simple floor manager, floor employee. And what are we going to do? And what you suggest, Jake? Give me a few minutes to think. I say, I got the idea. Let's send it to marketing. We send that guy to marketing. Today, this is the most important marketing person in the company, number one industry in the Dominican Republic. When he wants that award, I was in that meeting. He was nervous. So you say, hey, what happened? If they give me the award, I say, I go to hell. You are not going to get that. That man started in the industry as a janitor. Today is the best marketing manager of number one industry. And he has the theoretical intelligence coefficient, when I call it. Yeah? Perfect. And like that, there is a lot of samples. And that's what I said, look, 4 principles of them. One of them, psychology. Understand the people. And then you can do whatever you want. But in order to understand the people, you have to understand yourself. You have to understand yourself.
Stood out for me was this whole question the different types of intelligence and recognizing the dynamic nature. You know, it brings me back to the understanding of the system of profound knowledge. Really and truly is each element is a system in the sense that it's a system of appreciating systems, a system that is underpinned by a theory of learning, the plan, do, study, and operational definitions, and of course, using tools in its right place to build that sort of collective understanding and collective intelligence and so on. And then also this system in terms of the psychology, recognizing that psychology in itself is a system, not only the psychology of the individual, but the psychology interact with others. So there's a dynamic nature within that. And these things are not really easy to explain for the average quality professional. So I wanted to know, I know that you have done extensive research in these areas. You have also done a significant amount of writing. I know just last week you probably would have presented in China on these particular issues. So what would you consider to be some of the most significant insights, or what you would consider to be like aha moments, experience while researching and writing about the Deming principles and putting them into real world applications that, that you believe that for a quality professional, this sort of insight is necessary as you think about being both a scientific and a systematic systems thinker, basically, in applying whether also just generally engaging in improvement in your organization. What would you say are some of your aha moments or aha insights?
Oh, the aha moment is when I found that people. I got it. Let's go to work. This is the aha moment when you find what the model says is the correct people. This is the aha. Remember, I'm talking about 2%. Let's put it this way, less than 5%. I got it. My last aha moment was presented last Wednesday in the architecture department of my university, where I am emeritus professor, but still I keep teaching my physical chemistry class, because that is where I taught physical chemistry using Deming principles. In the architecture department, there was two ladies that want to make a research to build a jail for young people. They told them, those two ladies, go to have an interview with Gilberto Concepcion and tell him if he can help it. They came to me and I said, well, first thing is I need to know how they think. So those ladies were managed first thing. So, I have to know the way they think, say, okay, you can be they say, you can be on my team. Let's work. Because if they have the more or less the dynamic intelligent concept, they say, look, I don't have to do anything with those ladies. Let's go to work. And they were able to evaluate about 15 young male people in jail and 15 ladies. I said, look, I can assure that what it's going to do will be very interesting, that they don't have the dynamic intelligence concept. When the results came, exactly, they have even value for the analytical, the practical, the social, and creative. Similar. That means that you don't know how to deal with those people. When I found and say, you have to make a construction that, without saying a word, will help those people to be more creative, more interesting in developing themselves. Because these also have colors. I use the basics color because I say, look, analytical is red, energy. The practical is yellow. The social is blue, and the creative is green. You have to do combination with those colors that, without saying a word, it can send a message to the people, seeing the walls, seeing the trees, seeing whatever it is, because also these have colors, those intelligence, and the brain use the colors. And sometimes something is very, very interesting to you, or you don't know a picture that you are seeing. Most of the pictures have a message in the colors. So we're using colors, we're using in order to build a jail so that we can send the message of dynamic intelligence without saying a word. That was presented this Wednesday. That is something new. And everybody told me, wow, when those ladies did the presentation, I was there. Say they know.
You gotta speak up a little bit
that was the
again.
guy behind all those stories. You know, say, thank you very much. I got something new, and what I'm telling to you is something that is brand new in my research. The other will be on Monday. We're using music, and we are telling what kind of music shouldn't be used. And the problem that is the music that is popular right now. They are breaking all the things that we have done good. They are breaking the music, is breaking and destroying the brain of the people.
That's some interesting research, and that's something definitely I'd like to have a hand on in terms of especially for us
those are the aha
both in
point,
Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica. You know, no, because definitely it's something that has been explored, but the little connection has been actually made as to how it affects the brain and then further behavior, and not then the behavior of the individual, but the behavior of the collective. So we may need to explore that even further, and the more that persons can actually get greater insights as to how these things are impacting, and then impacting on the productivity within their organization, the competitiveness of their organizations, and probably even the countries as a whole, is definitely something that we would love to circulate and to share. What advice will you give the individual, the quality professional who wants to embark on the journey of personal and professional development through the lens of Deming's teachings? Working through, as you said before, the evolution of Deming coming from what took place in Japan, with a great emphasis on variation and leadership development and all of that, to then probably formulating it into the 14 points for satisfaction of the American audience who wants the 10 steps and the 14 steps to improvement, and then even further refinement into what is called the system of profound knowledge, which is really like a lens through which you look at and develop. So we now have these quality professionals coming in, and we now need to help them to build that greater appreciation, that greater capacity, competence within applying, this Deming insight to the improvement in the organizations. What advice will you give to that individual?
First, you have to know yourself. From my point of view, what is the way you coordinate your thinking? Know yourself. How much analytical you are. How much creative you are. How much social you are. How much creative you are. Make a self-evaluation and say, I am, like, whatever it is, you put your numbers, and you will see that I'm going to tell you that the right answer is you have to be 30% analytical, 20% practical, 30% see the results, analytical, practical, 20%, social, 20%. and creative 30%. You got that, the possibility of success increases. But let me tell you, I'm talking about less than 5% of the people. You can read in the paper in 206, Dynamic Leadership and Management, where I talk about all this. And there is a few more other things that I haven't spoke today about it. And you'll see different types of personalities in dynamic intelligence. Because if you are too of the social, it tells you that probably you are more or a people that speak too much. Or if you are too practical, you are probably a good manager. If you are in the blue, you are a manager that will lead by the way they speak. But if you have 60% of the creative and analytical, you see the results and you can see ways to get there, because in that creative is where everything will be coming. There is a person, Howard Gardner, that is in Harvard, of multiple intelligence, and he spoke in this way. But just mention what I did is I put them in a scientific way. I read all the books of most of the books of Howard Gardner. It's called the multi-intelligence. But it's multi-intelligence is talking about everything. You say, look, dynamic intelligence is the mixture of analytical, practical, social, and creative. Yeah, and that is pure quantum mechanics. And that's the way the brains work. It's under correction, my next paper, and that goes to a major journal that is not quality, because this is not for quality people. Where I spoke about quantum mechanics of all this. If you want to start, the easiest way is place where 16 million researchers put our work to publication. I am there. www.researchgate.net. You get in, it's free. That is free. And you can put the name that you are looking for. Gilberto Concepcion, Chris, whatever it is, and the name. And it will come something. And for there, you have more than 60 of my paper that I have written in English, because I am Spanish speaking. You can see my accent. But those are the ones that I wrote in English. In there are two books. The first one you have to buy is called, the name is Simply Quality. That was a bestseller. And Well-Being, Your Unique Journey to Success. You get it in. If for free, you got it. You can look at symmetry dynamic in leadership and management. And in there, you will see all what I've spoken today. And there are many other people, like one in between Venus and Mars. It's not the same thing talking to boys than talking to girls. If you know yourself and know what is the model of success, then you have a starting point. If you don't have it, first you have to learn. To finish this, I went to, after China, next year I went to Singapore, where the Asia Pacific Quality Organization gave me an honor. When the day at night was the ceremony, next day I gave my presentation about all this. After I finished the presentation, that I went out, there were 3 militaries waiting for me. And I saw those 3 militaries. They took me. And then came another higher military. And they took me to the high school. That high school happened to be the high school writer #1 in the world. I have to do the presentation again to 400 young people. That was in Singapore. I think that is also one big moment for me. I was
So if I
afraid,
sum
but
up
then
the
after they
advice,
told me, hey, Kiko, because these things, they understood that we have to start talking, know yourself, develop yourself. And it's not a teacher that is going, it's not Deming, it's not Gilberto Concepcion that is going to develop you. It's yourself. And if you cannot do it yourself, I'm sorry. But you can do it. I beg
so
that
if I
everybody can do it.
So if I sum up the advice there, it will be to know yourself. That may involve doing some self-assessment and self-reflection. Be dynamic, be open-minded, recognize diversity, because I heard about the need for multiple intelligence and recognizing there are multiple types of intelligence that needs to be recognized and appreciated. So when you're appreciating the intelligence, appreciate the musician, appreciate the artists, appreciate the scientists, appreciate everyone for what they bring to the table and the creative mix. And then also to do your own research, go and explore. There are available sites and platforms that are out there for persons to do more in-depth research into quality, into the things that you are talking about, into this human side of quality, into also the variation and understanding how variation impacts upon improvement and all of these sort of things. The next question has to do with, so in conclusion, what key takeaway do you hope that a listener would gain from listening to this interview? And two, from possibly even going and reading your books, there are several of them, how do you envision it making a positive impact on the individual themselves or the organizations that they are part of?
This is for me or for the people that is hearing?
The people that are listening. I know I have to slow up for
you have been a great student.
What do you want them to take away from all of this? What do you want them
send
to
me
take away?
that in my next presentation.
What do you want them to take?
To a friend in Trinidad and Tobago, and he put this. I am not going to talk. If you do that, you can have success. That was great. That was marvelous. Really, really, really appreciate that resume that you did. That's it. And
what key takeaway do you want the listener to take away, or somebody that goes and read your book? What would you want them to take away as a key lesson that you think that is something that is really important for them to pay attention to? What do you see from your book or even from the interview today? What do you see as like the main, like something that, don't make sure and don't let this nugget miss you?
If I were Deming, let me tell you, thank you. I say, aha, understand dynamic intelligence. That's it. Analytical, practical, social, and creative. And you have to be, some of them are more important than others. And that is why we are so different. There are different type of professions. But in order to have success, analytical and creative have to be the two pillars.
And the amount will be varied based on, it depends. It depends on the person. It depends on your background. It depends on your context of your organization. So before we go, it's always important for persons who may have heard anything interesting and probably want to discuss these things further with you for additional mentorship, coaching, or just clarity issue that they may have heard or not. How do they connect with you or also connect with the books?
They can email to me. And you have the email, jconcepcion@ codetel.net.do, and they just tell me I was in that meeting in this presentation, and I will be able to answer any question.
Thank you for your time. Yes, thanks for your insights.
And that
I
is,
mean, it was
and that
indeed an insightful presentation. I look forward to actually reading all of the articles, and what I'll try to do is while we circulating this interview, we'll also attempt to circulate the article at the same time, because I do know that for some persons the translation, I know the translation thing sometimes does be difficult, so some people might lose a lot of what you're saying in the translation process, not understanding that. But I appreciate the ability to reflect your ideas both in Spanish and in English. I know you did better in English than I could in Spanish. So, so this is just like totally awesome. And we really appreciate your contribution, not only made to the CQI today, but the ongoing contribution that you make towards the American Society for Quality and other organizations that are out there promoting and advancing culture of quality in the world today. Your contribution is indeed noted, and we do appreciate taking the time just to share some thoughts and insights with us on why a scientific and systematic mind is actually needed to really unlock the Deming lens. We do hope that the listeners also enjoyed as much as we did the context and recognize what is actually going to be needed for them to become a little more scientific in their own approach, and ultimately recognize it is up to them to develop their own selves, to commit to continued learning, and to continue to develop yourself, do the research, go out and continue to learn. So I'm going to stop the recording now and just place on record again my profound thanks to you, Jesus, for taking the time out to have this conversation with us.